Imagine being the strongest man anyone had ever seen. A man who could tear a lion apart with his bare hands. A man who could defeat an entire army almost single-handedly. A man chosen by God before he was even born. Yet in the end, this incredibly strong man found himself blind, broken, chained, and sitting in a prison. His name was Samson. But Samson's greatest battle was never against the Philistines. His greatest battle was against himself. And his story teaches us something we all need to hear. You can have great strength and still have a weak heart. Before Samson was born, God already had a plan for his life. Israel had once again turned away from God, and the Philistines were ruling over them. Then an angel of the Lord appeared to Samson's mother. The angel told her that she would have a son, and that this child would be set apart for God from birth. He would begin to rescue Israel from the hands of the Philistines. Samson was not born by accident. He was born with a purpose. And maybe you need to remember that today. Your life is not an accident either. You may not understand everything happening around you. You may feel like nothing special is happening in your life. But God can place purpose inside an ordinary beginning. As Samson grew, the Spirit of God began to move powerfully upon him, and Samson became incredibly strong. One day, a lion attacked him. Samson had no weapon in his hands, but through the strength God had given him, he tore the lion apart with his bare hands. On another occasion, Samson faced 1,000 Philistine soldiers. Imagine that, one man against 1,000 enemies. Yet Samson defeated them. His strength was extraordinary. But there was a problem. Samson was powerful enough to defeat armies, but he struggled to control his own desires. He kept allowing what he wanted to become more important than what God wanted for him. And eventually, that weakness would lead him into his greatest battle. Then Samson met Delilah. The Philistine rulers secretly approached her and offered her money if she could discover the secret of Samson's strength. So Delilah began to ask him, "Tell me the secret of your great strength." At first, Samson refused to tell her. He even gave her false answers. But Delilah kept asking, day after day, again and again. Eventually, Samson became tired of resisting, and he revealed the secret. His hair had never been cut because he had been dedicated to God from birth. Delilah knew she had finally discovered the truth. While Samson slept, she called for the Philistines. They cut his hair. Then she shouted, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you." Samson woke up expecting to escape as he had done before. But this time was different. He did not realize that the Lord had left him. The Philistines captured Samson. They blinded him, they chained him, and they took him to prison. Think about that for a moment. The man who once walked freely was now bound. The man who defeated armies could no longer defend himself. The man everyone feared had become an object of mockery. Samson had lost almost everything, but in that dark prison, something began to change. His hair started growing again, and more importantly, his heart began turning back toward God. Sometimes, God allows us to reach the end of ourselves before we realize how desperately we need Him. Samson's strength had failed him, but God's mercy had not. One day, the Philistines gathered in their temple to celebrate their victory. They brought Samson out so they could laugh at him and make a spectacle of him. But Samson had one final request. He prayed, "Sovereign Lord, remember me." This time, Samson wasn't trusting in himself. He was asking God for help. He placed his hand against the pillars supporting the temple. Then he prayed for strength one more time, and Samson pushed. The pillars collapsed, the temple came crashing down, and Samson died with the Philistines who had oppressed Israel. His life had been filled with mistakes, but his final act became part of God's deliverance of his people. Samson's story is not simply about a strong man who lost his strength. It is a warning. You can have talent and still lack discipline. You can have a calling and still make destructive choices. You can be gifted and still need God's grace every single day. But there is another beautiful lesson in Samson's story. Failure does not have to be the end. If you have made mistakes, if you have wandered away from God, if you feel like you have lost your way, come back to Him. Pray again, trust again, surrender again. The same God who heard Samson's final prayer is still listening to you. The Bible says in Psalm 34 verse 18, "The Lord is near to the brokenhearted." So don't allow your past to convince you that God is finished with you. Your weakness is not greater than His grace. Your failure is not greater than His mercy. And your story is not over. As long as God is still writing, there is still hope. If this story touched your heart, subscribe for more Bible stories, prayers, faith, love, peace, and hope. And remember, true strength isn't found in how powerful we are. True strength is found in knowing when to surrender to God.